Welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina. I'm your host, Tina Thompson, and I'm very excited. I have Aubrey Fowler. She is with the OSU Extension. She is the 4-H educator, and she is doing a whole lot of educating, and so are a whole lot of other folks coming up with the Fairfield County Fair. So now that the 4-H enrollments, they have all been made for the 2022 Fairfield County Fair, how many do you guys have?
Yeah, so for the Fairfield County Fair, the Junior Fair program includes the 4-H and all the FFA entries. So we're over about 3,000 entries. So that's any class, any species overall. Yeah, it's really exciting.
I guess I didn't realize, and I knew that they worked together,
right,
but I didn't realize that is a lot.
Yes.
And so anybody that ever questions, why are the county schools closed? That's why.
Yes. We're finishing up and entering the FFA entries right now. So Fairfield Union, for example, is probably one of the bigger chapters in the county. I think they have about 300 entries just from their chapter, and those are just FFA projects alone coming in.
So can you share with folks, Aubrey, the difference between the 4-H projects and the FFA?
Yes. So 4-H, we exist in community clubs here in Fairfield County, so they typically meet in smaller groups. They meet all over the county, so everywhere from Canal Winchester all the way down to Sugar Grove. And they start in March, and they do all of their stuff kind of independent from school or any other activities. They exist as their own entity.
Yes.
And 4-H is open to kids ages 5 all the way up until they turn 18.
Okay.
So we have Cloverbud members that are that 5 to 8-year-old range, and then traditional members start when they're 8 or 9. FFA is typically high school. Some chapters have middle schoolers, 8th graders participate, and that happens all within their school day education and within their programming that way.
Okay.
So typically most of them start once they get into high school, and then they exist within high schools here in the county.
And what is your part in helping the two of those come together and work together for the Fairfield County Fair?
Yes, so in Fairfield County we're actually fortunate. I'm sure at some point we've talked. So we have 2 4-H educators in Fairfield County. So typically I cover summer camp, and then I work with the junior leaders during the county fair. Mm-hmm. And then Leslie is my co-educator. She does the livestock and the junior fair side and the junior fair board. So we typically kind of sit in the middle, so Extension helps with entries on behalf and request of the Senior Fair Board. And then Leslie oversees the Junior Fair Board, and then those teens are 4-H and FFA members. And they help with the shows and oversee those displays and different things like that.
I'm going to totally assume that you were yourself a 4-H'er.
Yes, so I did 10 years in 4-H here in Fairfield County, and then I did 10 years in 4-H, and then I did 4 years in FFA with the Bloom Carroll FFA chapter. So I've seen both sides.
How is it with you working with the other 4-H'ers with their 4-H projects? Because I'm sure you couldn't do all of them, because how many 4-H projects are available?
So there's over 200 4-H projects. And so really they can cover anything that they are interested in, anything that they want to cover. So anything from cooking to sewing. There's tons of STEM projects now, natural resources. And then it's really impressive, our self-determined projects. So kids that have an interest in anything kind of outside what we don't have a book for, they can make their own project and design their own experience within 4-H.
Very nice. Now each student of 4-H, do they happen to have a leader that they must go to and groups that they have to meet to on a regular basis?
Yes. So every club is different in Fairfield County. That's kind of up to the advisors and those members. All of our advisors are volunteers, so they go through a training process. They go through background checks every 4 years, and then they meet within their community clubs. And so those members kind of go to the advisor, and then if they need to, the educators are there to help back them up or help them with projects.
So our 4-H program, it is one of the largest in the state, is it not?
Yeah.
3,000.
Yeah, so that's just the junior fair side. So on the 4-H side, we have over 1,200 members that are enrolled. We have about 55 clubs.
Okay.
So we're up in the top. We're not the biggest, but we're up there definitely.
And I'm sure that you are looking forward to it. The fair is when this year?
October 9th through the 15th.
Do you happen to have some favorite of your projects that you yourself used to do when you were back in the day? Not that the back of the day was that long ago, I'm sure.
It's actually longer than I would think sometimes. I forget how long it's been. So I grew up showing rabbits. We at Bloom Carroll didn't get the whole week off, and so I wasn't allowed to miss school, and so rabbits were on an off day.
Who do we call to make that happen?
Right. They need a few more. They have quite a bit of involvement. So I grew up showing rabbits, and so I do love seeing that and how much that has grown. And then my favorite now as an educator is our Clover Bud Day at the fair. So they come in on Sunday. So these are our younger members that don't get to take a project. All of theirs is hands-on, lesson-based every time they meet. And so they have 3 shows on Sunday. They kind of go back to back to back. So they do a stuffed animal show. They do show and tell, so they bring in their favorite projects or talk about what they did.
Stuffed animal. I'm squishing the bear. I just realized I'm squishing the bear.
Yeah, you could bring a bear to fair. And then we started a graduation about 3 years ago. So all of those kids that this is their last fair as a Clover Bud member, we do a special ceremony. We have a bunch of our junior leaders and teens come in, the commodity reps with their crowns, and they do a ceremony for them to kind of get them excited about being a traditional member next year and doing their own project.
So Aubrey, just so to cover a little bit of anybody who might be interested, of course it's too late for this year. When does it begin for the 4-H program for new 4-Hers to want to be involved, including Clover Buds?
Yeah, so now is a great time to be thinking about it and looking. At the fair, there will be 4-H and FFA displays in the Ed Sands building this year, so they can kind of see what clubs are doing. And then we start in March. So the first Saturday of March is 4-H Day. So we would love to have them come to the fairgrounds and see all the projects. We can help them match with the club, and we can place them kind of wherever in the county. So.
And what about adults who might be interested in becoming an advisor?
Yeah, so now is definitely the time for that. We need a lot of support and a lot of volunteer help in Pickerington, Canal Winchester, and Lancaster. We have a lot of interest from kids, and we're getting to a point that we don't have anywhere to put them. So if people are interested, they can reach out to our office. Our phone number is 740-653-5419. Or we'll have information available at the fair that they can kind of pick up an application, and we'll start that process in February of 23.
And most importantly, I want folks to, those who may live in the city or in the city limits, to understand that it doesn't always cost a whole lot to be a part of 4-H.
Correct.
It's just time commitment, and it teaches the kids so much.
Yes.
Does it not?
It does. And we've worked really hard. Our advisors, we have an advisory committee of volunteers that serve and kind of help program plan for the county. They've always strived to keep it cost effective. So it's $5 dues is all they have to pay, and then whatever books they want on top of that. So it's no more than $20 in a year.
Okay. And also for those who, there are still projects, which are, like you said, there's baking, there's sewing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a large animal
Correct.
or livestock, but if there is, there are ways that folks will also have a farm themselves that can allow the 4-H or to come in and do those projects, correct?
Yes.
There's ways around that.
So
if you live in the city, you can have livestock.
Yep. So they can do a smaller animal if they have an area that they are in, if they're in an area where they're allowed to do that, or they can work with some farmers that certain species allow leases, so they can essentially borrow an animal for the year and work with them and work with that farmer until they get to fair.
And they are allowed to, there's so many options and so many things. You don't want to put a child in just because they live in a certain area and only have so much space that they can't be able to excel and grow. Who are our 4-Hers today? I'll let you go ahead and announce them, and then I'll have them on in a minute.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. It's they're 2 sisters, Aubrey Duke Ward, so you'll have another Aubrey, and then Ashley Duke Ward. They're 2 of my junior leaders. Aubrey also sits on the junior fair board, and then I'll let them tell you about their 4-H clubs and what they get to do.
Perfect, wonderful. Aubrey, thank you so very much. And folks, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. I've got some 4-Hers that we're going to chat with, and we're going to talk all about their projects and the upcoming Fairfield County Fair. Be back in a minute.
You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back. It is Down Home with Tina. I have Ashley Duke Ward with me. She is a 4-H'er with the Fairfield County, 4-H, you're going to be going to the Fairfield County Fair coming up, and that's so exciting. How many years have you been in 4-H, Ashley?
So I've been in 4-H about 5 to 6 years. This year will be my 4th year as a traditional 4-H'er.
Oh, okay. So were you part of the Clover Buds? Is that what you were? So why did you start in Clover Buds? Was it something that your family decided to say, hey, you going to do this, or did you see it, or what's that about?
So when we started, my family wanted a way for us to have our animals and have our animals for a purpose. So we have 5.5 acres of land, and it was really nice for us to be able to have those basic life skills learned in 4-H and just be able to have the experience of having our animals and showing them and having that fun, friendly competition, healthy competition, because as soon as you meet those kids, you're already friends with them. You already have such a deep connection by just showing the same animal or being in 4-H even, having the same project. It was a really amazing connection, and we started out with my sister. She's 2 years older than me, so we started, and I believe she was a traditional 4-H'er to begin with, and then I was a Clover Bud, and I did being a Clover Bud for 2 years, and then I became a traditional 4-H'er, and it was really, really fun. And I have 2 little brothers as well, and they are both getting into it.
Nice.
My 10-year-old brother, he's becoming a traditional 4-H'er this year, and he's really excited to show birds with me. And my youngest brother, he's 7. He is not quite old enough to be a traditional 4-H'er, but he's extremely excited to finally be able to show something.
Yeah, so he's in Clover Buds?
Yes, currently.
And you mentioned that other kids and having connection with them. This is also giving you that, I think, connection and bond with your siblings as well. Do they listen to you? I know with siblings sometimes they don't want to listen to what another sibling has to say. Does it work or does it not work?
So
Sometimes
it depends,
maybe not.
because we ask questions, and the way that we show things is that it kind of intertwines. My sister shows rabbits. I've always liked birds. I show poultry with the occasional reptile project. My 10-year-old brother shows poultry and reptiles like I do, and my youngest brother wants to show probably rabbits. With maybe some poultry, depends on if he finds a bird he really likes. And so we all have kind of a similar connection. My sister will show birds sometimes, I'll show rabbits sometimes. So we kind of listen and talk to each other that way. And it's just that kind of community feeling where you get along with these other people who show the same things as you, and your family who show the same animals as you. And it's just a community and connection.
I think what is so neat about it as well is it's not like you go out and one person wins first place, one person second. You can all get, can you get multiple, do well. You go in there and you do well, and it's on you. So you're helping each other to learn. You can, if your sister knows about rabbits, she can come in and say, oh, here are some of the more difficult things that you might want to learn or remember, and she can help you with that.
Yeah, and it goes the same way as I do that for my brothers.
Yeah,
and even her when she shows poultry. She's done that with me when I show rabbits for her, or with her, or even if we were competing against each other. It's that friendly competition where, sure, there's a trophy at the end of the day or a ribbon at the end of the day, but you're competing against yourself.
Right, exactly.
How much did you learn since last year? How much do you want to learn next year? And it's just that constant growth.
It's what you put into it as an individual, and what you decide.
And you put in so much hard work. Just being able to get that happy feeling at the end of the year after you show at fair is really amazing.
That you accomplish something, and hopefully a first place. So what 4-H club do you belong to?
I belong to 3 clubs.
Oh.
My main club is Awesome Animals, which my entire family goes in. And then me and my sister are also in a club called Pet Pals. So we will take our animals to assisted livings. And I have, all my birds are therapy certified.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I have pigeons.
Okay.
And I take my pigeons to assisted livings and schools for 4-H awareness.
What made you want to have pigeons as a 4-H project? What is it about them?
I've always loved birds, and I just think pigeons are such an interesting animal because people see pigeons as a basic city bird. You see them everywhere on power lines, eating bread crust and crumbs at restaurants. They're everywhere. Downtown, you see them all the time. And I just think it's really cool to have a pigeon, especially a fancy pigeon. I show fancy pigeons. I've had homing pigeons. They look like the average pigeon. And I have satinet pigeons.
What is the difference between,
Satinet pigeons are white. They're pure white.
Nice.
And they can also have black spots in them. The standard for them is a white body with pure black wings, with maybe a little bit of white spots on them. But those are satinets, and there's plenty of different kinds of pigeons. It's really amazing.
And you take them to assisted living?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, what is the reaction to some of the folks there?
I've had so many mixed reactions. Some of them don't really want to pet birds because they're birds. A lot of people have never been that close to a bird, especially a pigeon.
Right, some are just have a fear for birds.
Yeah, that's completely normal. My aunt has a fear for birds. I
have a sister.
She's not very fond of birds, and that's understandable. They peck. Right. They're kind of unpredictable. You never really know what's going to happen. And
is that this year's 4-H project then? I'm going to say, or do you
I have
reptiles?
lots of projects. I take a multitude of projects a year. Okay. So I take all different kinds of chickens and poultry and fowl, and I have pheasants and quail and pigeons and chickens.
For this year? Mm-hmm. Oh my, so how many projects total?
I don't know, probably around 10.
Oh my goodness.
Which you're not going to see on average. A lot of people take about maybe 4 to 5 as an experienced 4-H'er. Okay. But, we've always started with the bigger the better, so we always take a ton.
And you're part of the Junior Leadership Club?
I am. I'm actually wearing my Junior Leadership shirt.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So what we do in Junior Leaders is we like to focus on community service. We will host community service things like the Stock the Trailer event, which is an event where we will gather donations of canned and non-perishable foods, and we will take them to pantries all across the county. And the past time we did it, we got about 5,000 pounds of food, which was really impressive and amazing. And I think it's great that we are able to gain that much food through donations and help that many people.
Well, Ashley, good luck with the fair this year and
all
of the judging and everything. And thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's a pleasure. Oh my goodness, I just love it when I get to talk to 4-H'ers, folks. It's just so fun learning about them. And this is our future, a prime, wonderful example of our future. So don't go anywhere. I will be back. I'm going to have her sister Aubrey in just a minute. It's Down Home with Tina.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Julia, are you ready to play band with us? I'm gonna play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
Mm-hmm. With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
Hey folks, it's Down Home with Tina. Fairfield County Fair is just around the corner. It is from October 9th through to the 15th, and free day is that first Sunday, and I love to talk to my 4-H'ers. It was years ago when I started radio. That was the very first intro to the field that I am today, and it's what led me to television. And I was sharing with the kids here earlier that's how I got started, was at the Fairfield County Fair. It was I think I told them the first day, the second day of the Fairfield County Fair, that I walked in and it was live at the radio station, and I was just like, there are people everywhere. So there's a special place in my heart for the Fairfield County Fair, but it's also the 4-H'ers, because right from the start, hopefully you got to watch last week's show, I had Connie Smith on with me, and she was such an amazing person, because I could say, hey, Connie, can you get me these 4-H kids? And from that first week, And for years to come, she was that person that would just say, hey, go down to the tent, go down to the tent. And that's where my relationship really, I think, built up with my involvement with 4-H. And so I'm so excited because I get to talk to Aubrey Duke Ward. She is a 4-H'er. And welcome, and I'm excited to find out all about you. I got to find out about your sister just a couple of minutes ago. So how many years have you been in 4-H, Aubrey?
It's a long one. Probably coming up on my 8th year.
Yeah.
Right around 7th, 8th year right now. Yeah.
So what has your experience been like, or what was it like in the very beginning?
In the very beginning, it was a little confusing because it was hard to find someone to help me understand it a lot and help me understand some of my first projects because it was really just no one took what I liked and no one just knew how to explain it really well.
And what project was that?
So some of my first projects were the pet rabbit and market rabbit.
Okay. And do you still show them as projects?
Yeah, so I still show them and I still heavily focus in on them.
And tell me, what is the most fascinating that you've learned about rabbits?
Just pretty much almost everything. I talk to people about it and they're like, oh, I never knew that. And I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that is honestly really cool because outside of 4-H, you really just would have never guessed or known unless you took the time to sit down and learn it.
Yeah, what do you learn when you have a project like that? Where do you begin with it? Is it overwhelming at first to learn
it
about
could be
an animal?
A little overwhelming to think about the big project book you have to fill out and think about all the activities you have to do. But they actually break it down pretty well, I'd say, by doing the different intermediate, the beginning, and the senior type books. So then you have to fill out the certain levels depending on how long you've been doing the project.
So you have had rabbits every year for the last,
from
the beginning?
Since the beginning, my first, the official first project I took was pet rabbits. So rabbits has just been my favorite thing since the very beginning.
And with pet rabbits, of course, you get to keep your rabbit at the end. Of course, there's no market or anything. Do they do market rabbits as well?
So yeah, I do market rabbits, and they will sell them, but you do have the option to take them home.
Oh, okay.
But for pretty much anything outside of that for rabbits, you always take home.
What is the difference between the pet and other than at the end you can sell them?
So the difference between a pet and a market project is for the market, you're focusing on the gaining of the weight and learning how to make it a good product to sell for your buyer. But then pet, you're focusing on the care and the health and learning how to give the rabbit the best home for its life.
Okay, that makes complete sense. Is it the only project you do, or do you do multiple projects?
No, I do a very wide variety of projects. So on top of those 2 projects, I also do breeding rabbit, and they really focus in on the breeding aspect and coming out with this pretty primp rabbit, almost like a beauty pageant for rabbits is the best way I always describe it to people. But then too, I do things like mentoring and public speaking.
Okay. Oh, okay. Now, do you breed your rabbit that you have? Do you actually?
So right now I have 32 rabbits.
Wow.
So a lot. And I do always try and breed them. That way I can come out with the next best generation.
Okay. Do you sell them or allow other kids to take them as a project as well to see how your
So
rabbit
I always
does?
try and offer some of my rabbits to the 4-Hers first before I always try and go public with some of the rabbits I'm trying to sell, because I always like to go to the 4-Hers first because I always pretty much am guaranteed that they're going to go to a good home.
Right, yeah. And then of course they depending on what, do they usually use them as breed, or do you leave them open to use them as they wish?
So it depends on the breed of rabbit. So currently I have 3 breeds of rabbits in my barn.
Wow.
So there's some that really are heavy into more of the market class that I would sell more towards the market, but then there's ones I would sell more towards the breeding or the pet class.
Yeah. How many breeds of rabbits are there?
Right now, it also depends. Every 4 years they could add more. I think we're about up to 50 breeds of rabbits.
Oh my goodness, wow, who would have known? We just see the cute little bunny rabbits, the way else say Peter Rabbit, or they think something like that when they're out in the wild, of course, and they're completely different from what we're talking about. So you are on the Junior Fair Board. Are you getting ready for the fair?
Yes, oh my goodness. So basically what we have to do is we plan everything, we approve of a lot of things, and any time there's like a need for like a helper or a volunteer, pretty much we're always the first people to volunteer and help. And that can go from like announcing on the shows to handing out ribbons to putting stuff on the computers or like writing down notes or helping the judges. Pretty much anything volunteer work that needs done during the fair, we're always like right there to help.
Very, very nice. What is your very favorite thing about 4-H, Aubrey?
I think just the fun memories and the good times I have, because I think with 4-H, I have met the most interesting people and I have just like had such a great time, and I just feel like I just can't get some of those fun memories at like anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because I'm like at some of the tagging days, some of the two girls there were cheerleaders and they were trying to teach some of the two boys how to cheerlead. And it was so funny to try and see this tall dude try and cheerlead and be like the person kind of up in the air. It was so funny. And I just laugh at that because it's like you can't get that anywhere else.
No, you can't, because you're bringing folks together for a common thing to do, but they may do sports or, yes, completely different lives in different places in some places. Because what is the 4-H club that you're with?
I'm with Awesome Animals.
Awesome
And then
Animals.
also too with Pet Pals.
Okay, and Pet Pals as well. So you take your rabbits? Is that what you do?
So I take some of my rabbits into with the Pet Pals, and I go visit the assistant living, and it's always so fun because they're like, oh, cute little fluffy bunny.
Right, yeah.
And they're always like, I didn't know we could have this. And it's so funny because like, oh, normally they bring in like a dog or something.
Yeah.
And then seeing a bunny's always like a nice change, and they're like, oh, it's so cool, and it's just so fun.
Well, you keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's been my pleasure. I love having my 4-H kids, and good luck this year.
Thank you.
With the 4-H. And folks, don't go anywhere. I will be back in a minute to explain to you why I have teddy bears, and I've had them on the set for the last couple of weeks if you aren't already familiar with it. I'll be back in a minute. It's Down Here with Tina.
Bay Food Market is Fairfield County's source for high-quality, locally sourced meats. The meat case is always full of quality fresh beef, pork, gourmet burgers, and gourmet brats for you and your family to enjoy. Bay Food Market cures and smokes their own hams, bacon, and sausage. Visit Bay Food Market at the corner of Maple and Walnut Streets in Lancaster and discover the Bay Food Market difference. Open daily 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., closed Thursday and Sunday. Bay Food Market, proudly serving Fairfield County families for more than 90 years.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Down Home with Tina is brought to you by these amazing sponsors, and you can always be a sponsor if you wanted to as well. You can just email me at downhomewithtina@gmail.com. Folks, I am doing a project. It's called Operation Teddy Care, and that's why you see teddy bears on my set. This is Hunter the teddy bear. It's because he is hunting for kids who need some extra TLC. These teddy bears, I'm raising funds that is being filtered through a nonprofit, Lancaster Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. You can go to their website, lancastercpaaa.com, to make a donation. Drop it off at the Lancaster Police Department, as long as you just make sure that you notate somewhere that it says Operation Teddy Care. The funds goes towards purchasing these teddy bears at a local business that they are giving me a discounted price to help to put in the hands through law enforcement to kids who are going through just a tough time. Thank you so much for watching this week. Have a great week. God bless and good day. It's Down Here with Tina.